Arknights Endfield has 23 characters and 5 team slots at the launch of the game. This allows players to have the freedom to create whatever team composition that they want to play the game, so I'm going to talk about mine. If you're here in search of the best teams in Arknights Endfield or the strongest DPS or whatever, then you're out of luck because
we don't do that here.
Granted, some of these team comps will be meta teams to a degree. There's only so much you can do when the game only has 23 characters with 5 damage types: physical, ice, electric, heat, and nature, meaning that unique party comps will be quite limited. That being said, here are some of my favorite team comps for whatever I happen to be doing while playing the game, ranked in no particular order. Team 1, the Rhodes Island team. As the name suggests, this team is composed of characters who were also in the original game. Call me a sucker for nostalgia, but hey, what can you do? This team consists of Levitane, Gilberta, Ardelia, and Snowshine. Get used to seeing the fluffy polar bear because she'll be appearing a lot in this video. This team is one of those teams that only has partial synergy. Ardelia can proc the Nature Arts Affliction to allow Levitane to get her combo, but aside from that one combo skill that comes around once every 17 seconds, Levitane has no way to generate stacks of Heat Infliction outside of her own battle skill, which means that this team's damage output depends entirely on how often I use Levitane's battle skill and her ultimate. If I'm using skill points for literally anything else, such as Gilberta's skill to group enemies, or Snowshine's counter, the total DPS of this team will fall off a cliff. This was the first team that I got to level 80 with, and is what I went through most of the game with. Things tend to really come together during Levitane's ultimate. Gilberta's skill will group every enemy together as Levitane swings her sword in wide sweeps to clear the entire area of enemies. Is this team meta? No, not really. Snowshine is just there for the counters, and Wolfguard will be a much better teammate because he can apply Heat Affliction a lot faster. Antal would also be a good pick. He was also a Rhodes Island operator in Arknights, and his ultimate buffs heat damage, which would boost Levitane's DPS significantly. But this team isn't about being meta. This team is about me giving myself the happy feelings of seeing what was originally simple 2D models and sprites rendered as full working 3D models. Team 2 is my physical team. This team is the one I used often whenever I was doing side quests just so that my character would stop swapping to the admin during dialogue. It's also the reason why I have a team in Wuthering Waves consisting of Rover, Amos, and Shorekeeper. Also because it's a nice happy family, but that's neither here nor there. Consisting of the Penguin, Young Helliger, I refuse to say his Enfield name because I cannot for the life of me pronounce it properly without stumbling over my own tongue, the Silly Creature, and the Pairing Polar Bear. Enmin in this team is the primary DPS, but that doesn't mean she's the only DPS, unlike my Rhodes Island team. Shen and Young Helliger bring a decent amount of damage on their own, both with their battle and combo skills. While the damage numbers individually aren't as high as the Rhodes Island team, it is a lot more consistent and actually out DPS's the Rhodes Island team thanks to the amount of skill points I get from Young Helliger. Also because Crush and Vulnerability are two incredibly powerful reactions. And in terms of consistency, Young Helliger's battle skill will always lead into Shen's combo skill, which will lead into Enmin's combo, applying Vulnerability, and then Enmin's battle skill will lead into Helliger's combo skill, and would you look at that, anything that isn't a mini-boss or stronger has now become an item drop. Like the Rhodes Island team, this team is also on a 17-second rotation, but unlike the Rhodes Island team, I'm not funneled into using one character for DPS. Also, it has more button pressing during the DPS window, so it is a little more interactive, which makes me happy. More button pressing for a DPS window will always be appreciated. It also brings a small smile to my face whenever I hear admin call out Shen's name during the combo skills. Team 3 is the Electric team, consisting of Arknight, Perlica, Avirenna, and Snowshine. This team I made just because I really like Arknight. The whites and blues are a nice contrast to her black clothes and her dusky skin tone. In her animation, she has lightning trailing behind her, which is always going to be cool no matter what. Also, midriff and hip windows. Perlica is here because she's a part of the beginning trio. I figured that if I was going to be raising the penguin and the silly goober, I might as well raise the bird alongside them. Plus, she's a very good teammate for both Arknight and Avirenna by inflicting electrification on enemies, which lets them get the most uses out of their skills. She also has one of the fastest skill attack speeds, which makes interrupting the enemy red circle attacks a lot easier. I'm looking at you, you stupid acid-spitting worm. Avirenna is probably one of my favorite characters in terms of gameplay, since getting the most out of her kit is dependent on both her and the enemy's positioning. One of my favorite things to do during combat is to have a bunch of enemies between Avirenna and her lances, then using her skill, and then seeing a bunch of yellow numbers pop up on my screen. She also regens her ultimate pretty quickly, which lets her throw around more lances, which means bigger numbers, which is always going to be fun. Team 4 is my Overworld team, featuring Avirenna, Gilberta, Perlica, and you guessed it, Snowshine. There's some synergy between the characters, primarily due to Perlica proccing the combo skills of both Avi and Gilberta. The DPS output of this team isn't the highest, but for general Overworld activities, you don't need the highest DPS since most enemies get sent back to the respawn lobby after a single rotation. This team is the most comfortable for me to play. Gilberta activates her skill to group up enemies, Perlica will use her skill to inflict electrification, Avi lands her final hit to throw her lances, then she will use her skill to pull back her lances, and that's pretty much it. Whatever is left alive is very low on HP and does not take much else. Snowshine, as usual, is there for the healing when I play like a dumbass and take too much damage, and for her counters when I come across an enemy that likes to do that charging attack, like those fat frog lizards in Wuling. Oh, and those charging rock enemies in the second stage of the latest Umbral Monument. Whoever designed that stage and enemy can step on a Lego and I will feel no remorse. Team 5 is my ice team and is the reason why I didn't make this video any earlier. I purposely held off on making this video until Yvonne was the featured character on Raid Up. I know that I had the chance of getting her if I lost the 50-50 on either Levitane or Gilberta's banner, but I know my luck, and I know that I would not have gotten a character that I want who is not on Raid Up. Yes, I have last right, she was actually the first 6-star that I got, but I am not a fan of the slower attack animations of the Claymore characters, and I did not want to talk about a team that I hardly played. However, now that I have Yvonne and put a few hours into her team and her gameplay, I can finally talk about the ice team without talking out of my ass. Featuring Yvonne, Fluorite, Gilberta, and for the first time, not Snowshine. Instead, the support and the sustain of this team is Shaihi, who is currently level 60 with a level 60 weapon. Yvonne is the main DPS of this team as everything revolves around her. Remove her and the team's DPS output will practically grind to a screeching halt. Shaihi's skill lets Yvonne apply Cryo Infliction with the last hit of her basic attack combo, which then lets her use her skill to apply Solidification to gain a chunk of ultimate energy. If I wait a little bit and use 2 rotations of Shaihi's skill to apply Cryo Infliction, then this allows Fluoride to use her combo skill, which leads into Gilberta's combo. Shaihi's ult also buffs cryo damage, Gilberta's ult debuffs enemies to take more damage, which in total nets me more DPS. And as always, bigger number equals more happy. So yeah, those are my current teams. Of course, as the game goes on and as more characters get added into the game, I'll be swapping out some characters for others. That's just how these games are. In terms of total single target DPS against the level 90 Rodon boss, the physical team was the fastest in clearing it, followed by the ice team, then Rhodes Island, and lastly the electric team. The electric team being the lowest DPS wasn't surprising. There is a lot of downtime when Avirenna does not have any lances out and both her combo and ultimate are on cooldown. What did surprise me was the Ice/Yvonne team being the second fastest, since that team is only half built. Fluoride is only level 60 with a level 40 weapon, and Shaihi is level 60 with a level 60 weapon, and both of their talents are barely leveled. Granted, this DPS test was against a single target. I'm pretty sure that in Umbral Monument, the clear times will be different since AoE attacks are more favored. I wasn't timing anything, but when I cleared the Agony stages, my electric team felt like it actually beat the stages a lot faster. However, this is just me going off of a feeling, so it might actually be false. If you made it this far listening to my ramblings, thank you, I appreciate it, and I will hopefully see you all in the next video.
I can see the dawn on water's face, with the shimmering light that starts to race. Interwoven strokes that rise